Welcome to the Tea Mind. And for those of you that are new around here, I'm Erica, and this is the podcast where we pause, put the kettle on, and reconnect with what really matters. Each episode is your invitation to slow down and explore how something as simple as a cup of tea can become a gateway to mindfulness, mental fitness, and a more present way of living. We'll sip our way through practical tea routines, powerful insights, and heartfelt stories. Some weeks it's just you and me, and some weeks we'll hear from inspiring guests. But every week it's a chance to recalibrate, to pause, rebalance, and thrive. So grab your favourite mug, breathe deeply, and join me in the art of living with a tea mind. Hello, and welcome to this episode of The Tea Mind. This week's episode is all about quiet bravery and tuning in to make positive choices in your life. So I'd like to take you back probably about 18 years ago or so, and I was in the bath one morning before I went to work. I was actually floating in the bath, surrounded by lots and lots of bubbles, staring up at the ceiling, and I had an absolute moment of clarity. I realised that I was drifting through life. And I was successful on paper, but in reality, I felt unfulfilled. And I just had this vision of fast forwarding 30, 40 years in my life and had done the same thing every year, year after year. And I didn't want to live life with regrets. And I didn't feel like I was living the life that I was meant to be living. But most of us don't actually choose our lives. We follow the rules and stay in the lanes that we're told to stay in. We tick all the boxes that are told will make us happy and bring us success. And I know that because I did it myself. Right up until that moment, I followed the path of least resistance, the path that was easy and set up already. I had a law degree, a really good job in London. I had promotions. I was respected. I had secure income. But inside, I was slowly dying a little bit every single day. And there's lots of research to back this up. In fact, a recent study from Cornell University found that 76% of people's biggest life regrets actually come from inaction, not action. So, not the things that they did, but the things that they didn't do. And I realised in that moment in the bath that I was on a trajectory towards that very same regret. So, I'd like to bring that question to the forefront now. What is the cost of living a life that's not fully yours? Maybe it's a quiet chipping away of joy every single day, or that just constant hum of dissatisfaction niggling away at you. A life that's fine, but never actually quite fulfilling. And I'm a huge fan of Bronnie Ware's Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. It's an amazing book. If you've not read it yet, please do. But the top 5 regrets, according to her, she's a palliative care nurse, was I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. And this can hit people quite hard. And I appreciate how lucky I've been to be able to positively choose another path for myself. And it's not always easy. My change certainly wasn't subtle, going from lawyer to packing a backpack and traveling to tea gardens in Sri Lanka and India. And I don't necessarily recommend doing it that way. You don't need to make a massive leap like that. But for me, I knew it was the only way that I was going to be able to reclaim my life in that moment. And over time, I've developed the Tea Mind system, not just for my business, but also for myself personally. And it's a practice of using tea as a pause, as a way to check in with yourself on a daily basis and to pause long enough to listen to that inner voice when the world gets really noisy all around you. And that's the system that I relied on many years later when I made another huge shift in my business, when I refocused etiquette, so supporting others in creating conscious tea rituals with amazing tea to help people pause, rebalance, and to thrive in their own lives. But there was nobody around me that could tell me, yes, this is the right decision, you're on the right path. Only that pause for tea could, and only the quiet. listening to my inner self. So I would say that you don't have to go all in, make a massive leap. You don't need to quit your job. You don't have to reinvent everything overnight. But I do think that we owe it to ourselves to pause long enough to stop and to ask, is this what I really want? And behavioural science shows that habit change doesn't begin with action, it begins with awareness. And the brain needs a pattern interrupt to shift course. Something as small as a little 3-minute tea pause can be that pattern interrupt. So, doing a little tea routine isn't just about tea, it's about giving yourself a daily permission slip to check in, just reflect, and to choose again every single day. But it's not easy. We've all got that little voice in our head. Mine's called Brenda. I don't know what yours is called. And every time I've made a shift, even the ones that I felt aligned with, I always feel that fear first. Every single time it gets me, that pressure to stay safe, to stay in place, to be grateful, to not rock the boat. That voice can be quite loud. But there's another one underneath, a quieter, wiser voice, the one that knows when something isn't quite right anymore. And the T mind system is there to drown out that fear, to make space for the truth to show up louder so that you can hear it. And over the years, I've seen so many people make brave shifts, not always huge dramatic shifts, often quiet shifts, but really impactful and compelling all the same. So a few years ago, one of our Team Mind members opened a cafe after 20 years of teaching, and she is thriving and living her best life now. We also had a customer who started a thriving sauna business after an alternative career, and a friend who decided to stop checking email after 6 o'clock at night so she could be there with her children more in the evening. Choosing your life doesn't always look like a leap. Sometimes it's just a return, a simple realignment, getting off autopilot and choosing your next step proactively. So I encourage you this week during your tea breaks to just take a little breath while the kettle's boiling and be aware of wherever you're holding tension in your body. And then ask yourself, where am I drifting? What does choosing look like today? And then just get really clear and write down maybe one intentional act that you're going to take today before the end of the day. It doesn't need to be huge, just something that moves you forward into a direction that you choose. And then sip your tea slowly, letting the warmth anchor and ground you. So ask yourself today, what life are you choosing? Not in 5 years' time, not when the timing is perfect, not after you've got the next promotion, but right now, today. Because this really is the only day that you get to choose anything. And just a little side note, if you've got that little voice saying, oh, but I'm getting older now, I'm too late for me, it's all right for young people, blah, blah, blah. I would encourage you to remember that age is irrelevant. Look at people like Vera Yang, who was a figure skater, and later an editor at Vogue, but she didn't actually design her first wedding dress until she was 40. Or someone like Martha Stewart, who began her life as a stockbroker, and she wasn't actually on magazine covers until her 40s. Or even later in life, Colonel Sanders, the founder of KFC, he had a really interesting life. He was everything from a farmhand to an insurance salesman. By the time he was in his 60s, he was broke. But he managed to start up KFC at 65, and the rest is history. So yeah, persistence and not waiting for the right time, I think. That's the pattern that emerges when you start to look at people that have made changes in their lives. They didn't reinvent themselves because they were lost, but they finally listened to themselves and chose a path that was right for them. And it's definitely not always the easy route, but you do get only one chance at living, so we might as well make it count. So as we bring this episode to the close now, I'd encourage you to try that tea routine today and to think about what part of your life are you still outsourcing to other people's expectations. Now go away, put the kettle on and enjoy some tea, because the pause is always available. And remember, you don't have to leap, you don't have to make massive choices, you just have to listen and decide on your next step. If this episode resonated with you, please sign up for our weekly Thrive in 3 newsletter, which comes out every Sunday, and also check out our perfect tea quiz to find a tea that is right for you. And please share this episode with someone who's been living on autopilot for too long. You never know, it might just spark them into some action today. Thank you, until next time. Thanks for sharing this cup of calm with me. As you move through your day, take the Tea Mind with you. Pause when you can, breathe and be kind to yourself. And please follow the Tea Mind to get new episodes as they land on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time, stay present, sip slowly, and thanks for listening.